There was a tweet a couple of months ago that people already discovered the vulnerability of all of this. The vulnerability of the platform, that someone could have easily manipulated it already if they had a lot of money. I think this was around November 2021. And the issue with that also, when it was brought to the attention of the CEO, instead of trying to somehow work with the person who was able to find it, he took the criticism as an attack, and he even fought the person and ridiculed the person also. Hey guys, so let's talk about Luna for a bit. Let's discuss what happened, and people have been asking questions and asking for my thoughts in all of this. So please do note this was something that was very, very interesting, and maybe this has caught a lot of people also off guard. Please do note that prior to all of this happening, Luna was the 7th largest in terms of market cap, and it was even part of the discussions when people were talking about smart contract blockchains to buy. They were talking about Solana, Avalanche, and Luna was part of it, as part of the Soluna Vax that was going on at some point last year. So Luna was the 7th largest one, and then USD at some point was the 10th largest stablecoin as well. And as you all know, the larger stablecoins are still USDT, you also have USDC, then you also have BUSD as the ones that have been used also by a lot of people. And I just want to say this also from a stablecoin standpoint, the concerns that people have about stablecoins, especially for the ones that are not as transparent in placing whatever holdings they have there, is that since it's collateralized, we don't know if it's 1:1. We don't actually know also what are the ones that they're fully buying. And one of the risks that are attached to that is people were concerned about what if one of these stablecoin issuers may have bought debt from a company that may actually default. And considering where we are right now in the world, that a lot of people are also pegging that we may enter a global crisis, there might be a recession given what's happening to America right now, given that a lot of companies also are relatively having a hard time, inflation rates are higher, the government in response to that have increased interest rates, which they haven't done for a couple of years also, and this has signaled a lot of people, at least from a stock market perspective, when interest rates are higher, a lot of these companies and institutions that want to get a relatively fixed and guaranteed rate of return move from equities all the way to fixed interest assets. And the thing about that is the stock market is heavily correlated also to the crypto market, and whenever there's downward volatility in the stock market, especially Nasdaq, you have the crypto market also heavily get hit. And that's why we have been seeing a lot of downward moves in the crypto market over the past few weeks, even spilled over the past few months as well. So the backdrop for all of this happening was you have the market already relatively bearish, in a way that the stock market, brought about by things happening in the US, have caused a lot of uncertainty and volatility. So you have the 7th largest token at some point, and then you have the 10th largest token, which is considered a stablecoin, to be part of the mix. Then you also have Anchor Protocol. For those who don't know, one of the biggest lures for people to actually swap whatever token or coin or currency they have to USD was that USD, you could swap it and you could stake it in Anchor. And I think that's where a lot of people had a lot of concerns with it, that when you would stake it in Anchor, the rewards that they would give out was around 19-20+% for a fixed stable coin. And a lot of people were saying that, okay, this is not something that's actually sustainable. But even prior to this particular drop that we have, if you notice it, that the rewards that they were giving out, they had enough to be able to sustain it. So this was just basically everything that we see here is basically just a result of an attack that happened to them. So there have been a lot of videos already about people explaining what actually happened, what's the cause of it. So I won't dive into details about what triggered it, but what people need to know also, while all of this was happening, it was basically an attack for them. As someone saw a vulnerability in their platform, they basically exploited it, and part of it being exploited was to sell down Bitcoin, which pretty much also caused Bitcoin to go down. But part of that also was Luna Foundation Guard, or LFG, had to also sell their Bitcoin. And as you all know, in a very downward or bearish market, when more people even sell, especially large amounts, please do note that LFG had around $3.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and they had to sell it down just to defend the peg for Luna and for USD. While that was going on, at least the peg for USD, for the dollar, dropped. It wasn't 1:1 already. So please do note, for those who are watching this, the whole rationale for people buying stablecoins is that it's 1:1 for the dollar, or at least for whatever currency they want to actually own or actually hold. That actually means that if the market goes down, they own a stable coin because it's pegged to the dollar. They're protected from the downside as well. The lure of it being decentralized, the lure of it not being regulated in a way that, okay, no one can control this because it's made up of algorithms. No one can control this because it doesn't look like a security. No one can control this because it's not backed up by any other asset class. It's not backed up by debt. It's not backed up by fiat. So a lot of people were so excited about it that they got to find a crypto or a stable coin that was purely based on crypto, that was purely based on Luna. And please do note this, initially it was Luna and UST, and just to make it super simple, that if there was a demand for UST, more Luna would be burned, and on the flip side, if there was lesser demand for UST, more Luna would be minted. And that's what happened also. They also introduced Bitcoin as part of the mix in order to help stabilize UST. But please do remember that for every UST that gets transacted or at least swapped, it has to be $1 worth of Luna. One of their proposals was to just mint as much as possible, and that has a lot of adverse effects. Also, if you would mint a large amount of Luna, then it would devalue Luna, and as you saw it also to what happened, Luna dropped to 0.00, at least 4 to 5 decimal places at its lowest, than to where it is actually right now. So they minted a lot of Luna, and as they minted a lot of Luna, its value diminished. It became super diluted. Now, that being said, fast forward to where it is right now. Part of their proposals is to fork. Part of their proposals is to make a new Luna token, either by forking or to make something a Genesis blockchain. The difference between forking and to create a new one is basically, if it's a Genesis blockchain, all of the history stored from the previous one, it won't be part of it. It will be like literally a new blockchain from scratch. If you fork something, it will contain the previous history and transactions of the previous blockchain. Trying to put all of these things together, I think there's a lot of things that would play out here. And I don't know how people would take this, but there was a tweet a couple of months ago that people already discovered the vulnerability of all of this. The vulnerability of the platform, that someone could have easily manipulated it already if they had a lot of money. I think this was around November 2021. And the issue with that also, when it was brought to the attention of the CEO, instead of trying to somehow work with the person who was able to find it, he took the criticism as an attack, and he even fought the person and ridiculed the person also. And I guess it caught a lot of attention, and a lot of people who also saw this as a way for them to be able to make money, saw this as a way for them to be able to earn from it. And the sad thing also is that a lot of people who put their life savings into it, who put a lot of money into it, lost money. And I guess a lesson also for a lot of people, or everyone into the investing space, regardless if you're into crypto, regardless if you're into stocks, is that you have to put in money that if it goes to zero, you're supposed to be okay. You don't put in money that will destroy your finances if it goes the wrong way. Always remember that if it goes to zero, if you get hit and it hits you financially, then you are exposing yourself to an amount of money that you should not have exposed to begin with. Regardless of what the asset class is, regardless of what the investment is, never disregard proper financial planning principles. That diversification works, that diversification is the game, that only put an amount that you're willing to risk, only put in an amount or only invest in something that you fully understand, you've taken the time to actually learn it, that if it goes to zero, you knew the risks that were attached to it. And I'll say this, that majority of the cryptos, there's a large chance that they would go to zero. Majority of the cryptos, there's a large chance that they would drop 95, 96, 97, 98, 99%. And that's really how it is, and that's really the narrative for it. Will Luna go back to where it actually was? And based on what I've read, they're gonna exclude UST as part of any of the building and any of the things that they're actually trying to do with the Luna ecosystem. And I've said this in a couple of interviews already, that if they do that, then they're just like any other smart contract blockchain ecosystem. What makes them different from Solana? What makes them different from Avalanche? What makes them better from FTM? What makes them better from Polkadot, Cardano, Near Protocol, Algorand? Even what makes them better now than Ethereum? If they're just like any other smart contract blockchain, please do remember what made them special, what made them unique was its algorithmic stablecoins. But I'm not saying that the ecosystem is not good. Their ecosystem is something that's very interesting. They have a lot of people who are devoting a large chunk of their time to be part of this ecosystem, to build, to actually make something that's bigger, better, and stronger as well. So Terra ecosystem was interesting. Prior to this, the Terra ecosystem have a lot of builders that are doing amazing work. However, it's their algorithmic stablecoin that put them in the map. And I think another hurdle that they need to actually address is they need to regain the trust of retailers. They need to regain the trust of people who lost money. They need to regain trust from the entire market as a whole. Because at the end of the day, investments like crypto, it's a game of trust. Investments in money, it's a game of trust. And when trust is broken, when people lose trust into something, then it becomes relatively harder for them to get back people in. And it goes back to what I said also earlier. If they're pretty much the same as what any other smart contract blockchain is actually doing, then given a choice between Ethereum, which is reliable, Ethereum, which a lot of people trust, versus something that has lost trust, then they might have a hard time to get investors in. People are asking, does it have a chance to go back higher again? Please do note that, number one, it's not the same Luna as what it was before. There will be a lot of changes regardless if they're gonna go through the fork or gonna go through the Genesis block, regardless of how they want to go with it. It's gonna be different. And if you've bought early on or if you've bought during the drop, it won't correlate that you would get the same allocations as what you got from the previous tokens that you've actually bought as well. It's a game of trust. It's a game of what makes them better off right now versus the other smart contract blockchains that are out there already. It will be a game of perception if people would trust them and put and invest and go with them for the long term. So what people need to consider is that it's not the same Luna. They have amazing builders. They have an amazing ecosystem still, but their algorithmic stablecoin is not part of it anymore, and there's still a lot of issues still that need to be addressed as well. Just to end this, use this time to continually learn. Use this time to, if you made mistakes with this, also get whatever learnings, extract whatever learnings that you have from this to be able to help you extract whatever things that you can get, so that either this helps you prevent mistakes in the future, or this helps you also that you will make better decisions in the future as well. But never ever use mistakes like this to deter you from investing. Please do remember, even the best ones make mistakes. It doesn't matter how much you have in the market or how long you have been there. No one will ever play a perfect game in all of this. So don't allow this to hinder you from investing. Don't allow this to hinder you from trying things out. So build, learn, and always use this time to just deploy capital that you understand and you can actually afford to lose, because the crypto market will be highly volatile. If you want to know more about crypto, NFTs, and markets as a whole, I have links in the description below for an investment 101 market class. If you want to learn more about technical and fundamental analysis, we have links down below for that as well. If you want to learn more from the books that I've written, check it down below as well. We have books that I've written from investments to stocks as well. So I guess that's it for now. This is Marvingermo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.